Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas, a championship edition of the Integrity Racing Show. We're joined by three of the four competitors that took place in the Homestead Miami Championship race tonight for the Integrity Truck Racing Championship. That's Jacob Fife, who also joins us in his league administrator and owner role. James Hudson, league administrator, and also races both the Cup Series and the Truck Series. And Randy Fash. So those three gentlemen all took place tonight at Homestead for a chance to win Integrity Racing League Championship glory, and we'll see how it turned out in a little bit. But let's start off with the Cup Series last night. I was not able to take part because I'm a bad driver, so we'll go ahead and look at that. The Cup Series last night. Andrew Fash brings home his second victory in a row, I believe. Second victory in a row. I think Jacob confirms that the second win in a row for Andrew Fash. I believe that's Andrew's third win of the year. I believe he had one previously, but I might be incorrect on that. So Andrew Fash gets back to his winning ways here in the Integrity Racing League and picks up a second win in a row. Guillermo Alvarez, very strong finish in second. David Radler third. Justin Rowden fourth. Adam de Blasio and Adam and Eric finished back-to-back, fifth and sixth, as they've been doing quite frequently this season. Cody Smith 7th, James Hudson 8th, Joseph Ties 9th, Nick Cherubuck 10th. We don't see you up there, Randy. I don't know if you were able to take place in the Cup Series last night. It looks like you were not. But we'll talk to you about the Truck Series here in just a little bit. Jacob, from league administrator standpoint, only 3 cautions. I was not able to take part, but I know in the the spring race early this year, there's a lot of multi-groove racing, a lot of moving around. Was that the case last night?
Yeah, it definitely was. From the outset of the event, really, I would say within the first 20 laps, or after the first caution, we had a caution around lap 12 or 15, I believe. After that, you really could start to move around and start to explore different lines. And we had a couple good green flag runs there. From that point, there was one more caution right around lap 100 or so, and then we basically, for all intent and purpose, went the rest of the way green. So, yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of different lines you could run. And, you know, from top to bottom, I know guys were in turns 1 going high and cutting all the way across the track low. Some guys would rope the bottom in both ends of the track, or do opposite end, high and low on opposite ends, depending on your preference. So definitely a lot of ways you can get around. And I think strategy really played a big part last night in terms of when you pitted. I think was the most important part. And if you pitted too early, the guys who pitted later could catch up to you really quick. Or if you planned it just right, you get just far enough out ahead to kind of maintain a gap and kind of leapfrog people, depending on how you were set up.
All right, and James, a little bit of a carefree race, not as much pressure on you, already being eliminated in the second round of the Chase playoffs. But you go into Texas and get a good place, or a good 8th place finish to keep some momentum up, headed up into the 2018 Integrity Racing League season.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, no pressure. That was taken care of, last week or 2 ago. But that was, I'm normally not one for these kind of tracks. I'm really good about wearing a right front out, and I definitely learned it on the first run. I felt I got a little too confident and went into the lead on, I think it was lap 10. Then caution come out and took it back again after the pit stops and stuff. And I found out why I took it out, because the right front was gone after about 20 laps. Other than that, like Fife said, it was definitely a lot of multi-groove racing. You could really explore, run up here for a little while, run down there for a little while. And the pit strategy was intense. I think the late race caution kind of screwed all that up for everybody, but it kind of like tonight's race, it'd have been really fun to kind of see how it would have played out, and if the cautions wouldn't have come out. But overall, really fun race, actually.
All right, so let's go ahead and turn our attention to the Chase standings after the second race of the Eliminator round. Adam de Blasio is in pretty comfortable position there. 22 points to the cutoff. Eric de Blasio is probably in good shape as well, so it looks like both of the de Blasio brothers barring disaster at Phoenix this coming Monday afternoon and evening, are close to punching their tickets to Homestead. Caleb Eisenhower, who had some connection issues, I heard, before the race last night, and kind of put himself behind the 8 ball. Is currently 10 points to the good. Greg Trigo, wouldn't it be great for Greg after some rough misfortune tonight to make Homestead in the Cup Series and be able to give it another chance? And then some pretty fast names here in the bottom 4. Myself, obviously, I was suspended last night, and I've stopped caring about racetracks and all that stuff. But I'm going to win Phoenix, so don't worry about me. Jacob's 12 points back, Nick Terbuck 10, and then William Dunn 10. But a little bit of separation. Jacob, you're the only one of the 4 of us that really has a chance. You go into Phoenix 12 points down, but I think more importantly, 7th out of 8th. So not only are you 12 points back, you're going to have to jump 3 guys on Monday night.
Yeah, my misfortune continues. Even though I will say the last part of my misfortune was somewhat self-inflicted, but yeah, it's just some really screwy stuff is going to have to happen in order for me to be in the top 4 this time around. That's not to say it can't happen. I do enjoy racing at Phoenix, but the guys in front of me are too talented to mess up on that level. That'll be needed. And I was like I said, I got caught up in pit sequence stuff that got me behind, kind of like Martinsville last week, and just caught it and just couldn't quite catch up. Even still, if I hadn't made my mistake, I think it was 10 to go or something like that, I made a mistake that cost me a few spots. I'd have been closer, or at least within shouting distance. But you have to have the complete package when you run in the Chase Series in each round, and this round I don't seem to have it. So like I said, unless these guys really catastrophically screw it up, I'm pretty much in the same situation you are there, Todd. I gotta knock you out of the way to win. So
yeah, me and Jacob might be playing bumpers cars there in the last 5 laps on about 112 lap old tires. If we get a late race caution, I think me and Jacob are both staying out. But it might be disastrous. So go ahead and hey, I've already got my 3. I can cause 2 cautions. It's no
there you
big
go.
deal.
Yeah, I haven't caused one yet, so I've got plenty to burn.
I've got cautions to kill. But let's talk about the real reason we're here tonight. The Crown of Truck Series Champion. We're joined by Randy Fash, Jacob Fife, and James Hudson, 3 out of the 4 competitors. The 4th being Greg Trigo. Greg was not able to join us for the show tonight. But let's start with you, Randy, since we haven't had you on the show before and haven't had a chance to talk to you yet tonight. Let's just talk about what was your mindset going in racing against Jacob, Greg, and James. What kind of mentality did you say did you go into the race tonight with?
Well, I figured I needed a couple breaks to go my way because I'm not one of the top drivers here. But I actually tried to qualify for the first time, and I started out good. And then I wore out my tires a little bit, and we had a long green run. And once you fall behind a little bit, it's hard to catch up.
All right, and James, let's get your input on the same thing. You go into the race tonight. You've kind of, I don't want to say dominated the Truck Series, but you've been one of the fastest guys in the Truck Series all year. You've had a good season there in the trucks, won a few races, and we're probably one of the favorites to get the championship tonight. Going into the race, what was kind of your game plan, and what do you think you need to do tonight to win that championship?
Pretty much just try to keep doing what I was doing. I actually practiced for the first time for any of these races, and I'm really glad I did. It definitely helped out. Like Randy had said, it was really easy to wear out your tires, and that definitely come into play at the end of the race between me and Trago. I got a little lucky, and Fife kind of sealed his fate early and had a little damage that slowed him down. So it kind of almost made it between with the lack of cautions, it kind of just kept it between me and Trago for the race. But coming in, I just knew I needed to stay clean, save the tires, and try to win the damn thing.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at the Truck Series results for those of you that are watching that maybe weren't able to join us for the Truck Series. James Hudson gets the victory at Homestead, wins the race, and wins the championship, leading 5 laps there. Maxime Thuriel finishes second and leading a race high 95 laps. Josh Buckley third. Greg Trigo has to settle for fourth. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Cody Smith finishes fifth. Lance Gentle sixth. William Dunn seventh. Jacob Fife eighth. Mark Robertson ninth. Chad Dillon 10th. And then Randy Fash, a little bit of a hard luck night to finish 11th. Jacob, only 2 cautions, but late race cautions proved pivotal. James talked about an early incident that you had that kind of damaged your car and kind of took you out of contention tonight.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. We were I made it to turn 3, lap 1 before stuff started going wrong. Like I said, I think it's been my luck the past couple weeks. I think I was 4th or 5th, and just following Guillermo, and I'm sure, as most everybody knows, the safer barrier kind of pops out at you going into 3 there, and Guillermo just happened to brush up against it, and before I could do anything, I kind of ran in the back of him and caused some damage. But with the lack of cautions until the end of the race, it kind of limits being able to fix it. So kind of like James mentioned, just kind of put me behind the 8 ball for the rest of the night. I really would have liked to seen how things would have turned out, but that's racing. That happens, and you just kind of roll with the punches. So that's what we're going to do. And congratulations to Hudson on the championship, and it would have been a great battle there at the end between Hudson and Trago to see who could have duked it out in the last 2 laps. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case tonight.
And Randy, not the best finish for yourself tonight. Finish outside the top 10, 11th. You'd been strong, consistent all year to work yourself all the way to Homestead. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for you tonight. Talk us through your race.
Well, I use different strategy to start the race. Normally, I don't qualify, and I usually hang out in the back and save tires. But I thought I would have to start up in the front, which I qualified, I think, 6th, and I tried to push it without using up tires, and I did bump the wall a little bit, which threw me off. And one thing I need to work on is pit stops, because with the long green run, I think I lost a lot of time getting in and out of the pits.
All right, and so let's go ahead and talk to our Truck Series champion. Congratulations to you, Jacob Fife. We've talked about the race that you had with Greg tonight. What did I say? Did I say somebody else?
Fife.
Well, he pays the bills, man.
He's paying something.
Yeah, he's paying the bills. So I get a grand total pay of $0.00 for hosting this show. And
I'm waiting for the YouTube check to come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me correct myself, and let's talk to our Truck Series champion for 2017, James Hudson. James, we talked about your battle with Trigo tonight. I'm sorry, I've lost it. But talk us through the finishing and the closing laps and how that played out and how you were able to seal the deal tonight.
Well, Lady Luck definitely shined on me at the end. Like we had mentioned, the long we didn't have a caution until I think 9 to go, something like that, and I messed up in qualifying and started 11th. Slowly was catching Trago. Like I had mentioned earlier, I'd practiced and figured out how to kind of save my tires and stuff. And I think first pit stops, I was within 3 seconds. After the second, I was within, I think I was within 1.5. And coming out, we were bumper to bumper on the last stop. Something along those lines, if I remember right. But he was, me and him were about dead even in 1 and 2. And if he didn't hit it right, I was catching him in 3 and 4. And with 9 to go, we were bumper to bumper. I mean, just right on top of each other. It was going to be a hell of a finish. And then after looking at the replay, no fault to Alan. I think iRacing really screwed up there. He had pulled off because he was laughing so hard. But he had pulled off to try to keep a caution from coming out, and somehow the caution still come out. After that, I was waiting for Trago to stay out, and he actually pitted on me, and my dummy self didn't realize there was only 4 cars on the lead lap, and kind of set myself up for a disaster. And luckily for me, on the restart, I think it was Mark ran to the back of Fife, and that brought out the caution and ended the race. So, like I said, Lady Luck definitely shined on me there, because I definitely made the mistake, and Drago would have won with the caution coming out, but I think if it would have went green the whole way, it would have been a hell of a battle between him. Much respect to Trago. He ran a damn good race. He definitely showed up tonight for sure, and give everybody a run for the money. I mean, it was second and third. Maxime was on a strategy of his own out in front of everybody, but other than that, man, just me and him just back and forth all night. That was probably the most fun strategy-wise and racing-wise I've had on here.
All right, so that wraps up the race, but let's go ahead and recap the season. James, as the champion, I'll give you the first stab at it. You kind of strong, not just consistent. Consistent's maybe saying that you didn't have great runs. You won a few races. Maybe you remember exactly how many. But you won a lot of races this year, and were consistently one of the fastest trucks on the racetrack. I think the Truck Series really suits your driving style, and you were able to seal the deal tonight. So it wasn't a one-trick show for you. You're kind of one of the stronger cars throughout the season. Talk us through your season and the accomplishment to win the Truck Series Championship this year.
Yeah, for sure. Trucks. I love the trucks. I love the way they drive. Love everything about them. Hopefully, we're back in them next year. But no, I knew going into the season that this was my primary focus. I knew a lot of the faster guys were going to be mainly focused in the Cup, and I can't get a grip on the Cup car as much as I can on the trucks. And my goal was to come in and try to win as many races as possible and win the championship. And I think I only won 2 races this year. I know seemed like every time I had a good shot or was a little bit faster than the rest of them, somebody else would come down and show up and be a little bit faster than me. But like you said, consistent. I know right before the chase started, I looked at my average finish, and I think it was like 4 point something. So I kind of, I don't know what word to really use. I kind of like seeing that, I guess is the best way to put it. I definitely pride myself in the Truck Series and really push myself to run there and do the best I can. So the season was nothing short of perfect for me, honestly. And I'd like to have a few more wins, but I'll take it. It was fun.
Absolutely. And Randy, Jacob and I have talked about you on the show quite a bit, that we've been impressed with your consistency throughout the season in the Truck Series. Obviously, I think you would even own up to you're not the fastest guy week in and week out, but you're smooth, you're consistent, and then you always pop up the results, and you go, wow, Randy finished 6th. So a good season for you, successful, I think you would say, by anybody's standards. But a good season for you this year in the Truck Series.
Oh, definitely a good season for me. When this all started, with my speed and that, you guys know how I'm not one of the fastest trucks or the cars, but I knew I had to battle and come up with different kinds of strategy just to stay in the chase. And I'm very glad that I made the Final 4. I think that was a big accomplishment for me.
Cool. Well, and then we'll throw it to Jacob. Jacob is the owner that we brought the Truck Series back in full scale this year, and I know there's a little bit of discussion about whether we're going to keep the Truck Series, but the Integrity Racing League kind of gets back to its roots with the Truck Series this year, and had some decent turnouts. Things probably dropped down a little bit lower tonight, but with the Pro Series going on and all that stuff. But throughout the year, some decent car counts, and it sounds like a lot of people had a lot of fun in the series this year.
Yeah, that's the main goal, and I do want to say off the top, just to clarify, we're not getting rid of the secondary series. We're just trying to figure out which car to run, whether it'll be the B car or the Xfinity car or the truck. So definitely going to have the series next year, and we'll have two smaller seasons next year, kind of like we talked about in one of our earlier shows. So we might mix it up and do one of each next year or something along those lines. But definitely, I believe the Truck Series this year has reached its goals in terms of being a more relaxed league or series, and coming in and being able to have fun and relax and not quite be the pressure cooker that the Cup Series can be week in and week out. So definitely happy with that. Happy with the truck counts and the guys who were able to come in and kind of get their feet wet with the league and either move up to the Cup Series or hang around with us here and just enjoy racing. Every once in a while go to a couple different tracks you haven't been to before in a while and test all facets of your driving. And it's been a fun experience this year, and looking forward to get it started right at the new year on the 2nd of 2018.
All right, and something we'll do here, and we'll probably do next week when we crown our Cup Series champion. We'll let James Hudson, as the reigning Truck Series champion, kind of give his final thoughts on the Truck Series throughout the year and what he thought. So, James, your thoughts on the Truck Series for the 2017 year as the champion?
Absolute blast. Like Five said, it's definitely the more relaxed series, and I think that's what made it fun. I know a lot of the times throughout the races, throughout the whole season, everybody was laughing, having a really good time during the races, which is kind of hard to see. I think at the end of the year, which normally happens, the car count or truck count, whatever you want to call it, kind of dwindled down. But even the last race, we had 15 trucks, which I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I consider it a pretty strong number for a secondary league and in a league, secondary series, to hold all the way through. I don't think we had anything less than 13, 12, something like that at the lowest car count. Absolute blast. Good car counts. I know earlier in the season we started in the 20s and 30s and held that for most of the season. So good racing. I'm really proud of the way it come out, and I think next year it'll be even better, to be honest with you.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Integrity Racing Show. We want to thank Randy Fayash and Jacob Fife for joining us, and once again congratulate James Hudson as your 2017 Integrity Racing League champions or series champion. We'll be at Phoenix for the Cup car race on Monday for the cutoff race before we go to Homestead. We might do something a little special next Tuesday since we don't have the Truck Series. And then obviously in 2 weeks we'll be back here at the same time to crown our Cup Series champion. So hopefully you'll join us on Monday for the races, and then join us the next 2 Tuesday nights where we'll recap the races for the Integrity Racing League season. So thanks again to our guests, and we hope everybody has a wonderful night.